Do you constantly sacrifice your needs to make sure other people are happy? Let's talk about people pleasing. What's up, y'all? My name is Elia. I'm a mindset coach. I talk candidly about my journey, as well as share tips to encourage growth and healing and uplift anyone who may struggle with feeling seen. So, people pleasing, in a nutshell, I feel like I say in a nutshell in a lot of my videos. anyway, that's not the point. In a nutshell, or put simply, people pleasing is a form of self abandonment wherein you may sacrifice your needs, your desires, your wants to put a smile on someone else's face, make their day, make someone else happy in hopes of being liked and or accepted. And as humans, we're fairly communal creatures. We tend to want our tribe. Tend to want our community. We tend to want to fit in somewhere and be liked, be accepted, be part of something larger, and not just feel like completely solitary creatures. Some people like to be on their own. That's cool. Not knocking it. It's just, in the grand scheme of things, community has a pretty important and big impact on our overall quality of life, our mental and emotional health, all of that good stuff. So there's no problem really by itself with seeking community or wanting to be accepted somewhere. And there's also no issue with wanting not validation, wanting confirmation of parts of ourselves that we may like or be really proud of and wanting to see that out in the world. That's all cool, all great. The issue starts to arise though when we may seek validation as a way or method to build self-esteem, because putting a smile on someone else's face and seeing them, I don't know, reward you or congratulate you or otherwise just reflect that you did something that made them happy, if that in and of itself is the avenue to self-esteem and self-worth, then that's entirely dependent on what somebody else is saying or doing, or how they feel about you. How you feel about yourself is entirely dependent on that, and that can be a little dicey in the grand scheme of things. And people pleasing really abandons yourself, it abandons your work, and it hijacks someone else's. So there's a bit of a double edged sword where you're doing both ends of it a huge disservice, even though on the face of it, there is an obvious benefit to someone on the other end of people pleasing. Both really lose in the grand scheme of things, though. And again, it highlights all these underlying self esteem and sense of self worth challenges that require deeper introspection, deeper examination, and some pretty intentional work to overcome and address. And the beauty of it all, though, is it can be overcome and addressed. And there can be healthier ways to navigate the things that may push us into people pleasing tendencies, let me put it that way. And that can lead to a range of positives like healthier boundaries, more constructive conflict resolution skills, healthier relationships, you name it, it's all there. So I want to share a little bit about what this has looked like for me, because I too have struggled with people pleasing. It's a very natural thing to struggle with. Again, we all want to be accepted. I am no different. So I do this sometimes. So for me, for a long time, I didn't really think I cared about people's opinions. And to be, I guess, clearer, I usually don't. But the caveat to that, and what I had to really learn about myself as I grew and matured and healed and all of that good stuff, is that when I don't care, I don't care. That don't mean nothing to me. But when I care, I can care a little bit too much. So for the vast majority of things and people and places where I just didn't care, like bounced off me like I was bulletproof. But in the scenarios or in the environments where I did care about people and their opinions, I would really take things to heart. And because I was dealing with my own self-esteem and self-worth challenges through a variety of past negative experiences, poor decisions, projections, you name it, I would then take it as my own responsibility in conjunction with just a natural desire to serve. It's a value of mine. I would then take it as my responsibility to make people happy and take on responsibility for their emotional state in their day and their work. And that cost me dearly, as you could probably imagine. So again, I either didn't care or I completely cared too much, but cared about them and not myself. And I would find myself ditching plans I'd made, abandoning goals I'd made. If I'd set a budget and all of a sudden a group of people or maybe somebody that I really did want to maintain some form of a relationship with was like, oh, let's do this. All of a sudden my budget out the window. Just really sacrificing myself in things I knew I needed or ways I knew I needed to live and navigate my life for the sake of approval at times, or what in those moments I thought was true and genuine relationship. And I mean relationship globally, not just romantically, platonically, employment, business, all of that, right? It showed up in all those facets of my life. And one of the ways that it really showed up that was hard for me to really deal with was in the moments when I may have actually chosen to do something and pursued something. I've always been very entrepreneurial, so I was always doing something, and something seemed to start to work. I would then at points want to minimize my success depending on maybe whom I was around, and that just in the moments didn't feel good, but I didn't always know how to address that in a way that was really true to myself. And like anything else, that's taken a lot of work and continues to take daily work to navigate and not slip back into. So, with that said, I want to share a few tips that have helped me and that I hope will help you on your journey as you grow, navigate, heal, all that groovy stuff. First, it's important to learn how to say no without over explaining or apologizing. No is a whole sentence. And folks may want things out of us. That's fine. They're allowed to want what they want. But how much of ourselves and when we give of ourselves is ultimately our responsibility, right? So just because somebody wants something or offers something doesn't mean I or you have to say yes. And it also doesn't mean that we have to go into this long, overdrawn explanation of why we're saying no. Sometimes the answer is as simple as that really doesn't work for me. I won't be in attendance. Crickets. That's it. And ultimately, some situations, of course, will require a bit more of a dialogue than that. But the point is, you don't owe it to anybody to explain your existence or your choices because they are yours, and you can choose when and where to explain your choices. It's also important to identify your specific needs, especially in moments of conflict. Oftentimes, and this is something I've been guilty of, we may approach a situation and not even understanding what we need out of it and be in the middle of it and then be confused on where we stand, where the other person stands, or the other people stand, and how to navigate all of it. So it's important, again, especially in moments of conflicts, to identify clear needs and whether or not they're needs you may be flexible on or whether or not they're deal breakers, just core needs. I need this now, and I can't show up as the best version of myself if I don't get this now. So, what are we doing here? It's important to have some clear idea of that. And it's also important because something that I've seen, experienced, and seen is that oftentimes when we choose ourselves, there's a sense of guilt as we're learning to kind of get off the people pleasing train. There's a sense of guilt that may come up, and it's important to examine that guilt and what you may really be feeling bad about and how you may be feeling about yourself, so you can kind of isolate, well, hey, this is what really happened here. That doesn't mean I'm bad or actually did anything wrong. It's just they didn't like it, and that's okay too. You ain't got to be liked all the time. So I hope those do help you on your journey. And as always, I want to leave you with one reflective question. And today's question is, what impact do others' opinions of you have on your relationship with yourself? Think about it.